Saving Private Ryan. I have just seen this movie. It came out the year I moved to Los Angeles. I just started acting. I'd been begging my my regional manager in the DC area for a couple of years. Hey, can I go to LA? Can I go to New York? Can I go to LA? Can I go to New York? And she was just like, no, you don't have enough credits. No, you don't have enough credits. No, you don't have enough credits. And then 98, she's like, hey, I'm going to LA for pilot season, you should come. And then she invited like a bunch of people in her stockpile of actors to come to pilot season in 98. I went out there and I got an agent in like 2 days. So I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be famous. I went to a load of auditions. I'm off on a tangent again. Okay, so Saving Private Ryan came out the year I moved to Los Angeles. And this is the first time I ever seen it. I've heard about the movie, obviously. It won an Academy Award, I'm pretty sure. But I never actually sat down to watch it. I think I like seen like bits and pieces, but I never like actually watched it. So I watched it and it's a good movie. I wouldn't like say it's the best movie ever. You know, it's a good movie. It brings a little tear to your eye. I mean, it could. What can I say about a movie from 30 years, 25 years ago that hasn't already been said? Saving Private Ryan is a movie about, it starts out, it sets up the story basically and dumbly, as if some concerned lady in a typing pool typing death notices to all these families, hundreds a day, is going to notice that 3 of them have the same last name, presumably with the same address. As if all three of them came across her desk or something. So, and this is long before computers, but like magically, this shit happens. And 3 things, she's like, hey, wait a minute, this guy, that guy, that guy. She takes him to the boss, and her whole fucking family is dead. She's only got 1 more kid, and he's like in France. And so like, magically, the War Department is like, well, we gotta save that boy. We can't let this whole fucking bloodline go to waste, right? As if Tom Hanks and his band of awesome soldiers who have succeeded in all kinds of operations to go find this kid and bring him home safely. Tom Hanks is great. I love him in this movie. Completely believable. Completely believable. He's such a good actor. He's doing an excellent work in this movie. Totally buy him as military soldier boss guy. Totally buy it as a captain. And he doesn't look it. That's the great thing about a good actor. You don't have to necessarily look the part so long as you can play it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't look like a soldier, but he does look like a school teacher. And how would a school teacher behave? He was chucked off into war and he wanted to get back to his wife. That's fucking good. Like, that's a good actor. Young Matt Damon, it's fucking good. He's good. He's a good actor. Do I want to hate on Matt Damon? No. I don't want to. It's not something that I want to do. I've always actually thought of Matt Damon, like, people always, like, want to make, like, oh, you look like somebody, or oh, you look like somebody. And I never actually saw that for myself. I never actually saw somebody I was like, oh, look, I look like that guy, except for my dad. Until, like, Matt Damon. And then I was like, I could see at 3/4 profile, like, a similarity between, like, a cross between Leonardo DiCaprio and Matt Damon. But that's just me. When I first saw him, I think the first movie I ever saw him in was All the Pretty Horses? Because I still haven't sat down and watched Good Will Hunting yet. I did like a bunch of scenes from it in acting class with Tyler Mane. Tallest father ever. Big Sky and Sky. I never really watched it, but yeah, I think the first movie I ever really saw him in was All the Pretty Horses. And funny story about pricing yourself out of the business. The casting director for that movie told us a story at a casting workshop situation. I think his name's Dean Frank. Pretty sure it was Dean Frank. So we offered this part to Leonardo DiCaprio, and then 6 months later, he's like, yeah, I'll do it for $20 million. And so the production was like, I can't afford that. So they hit Matt Damon up and he's like, yeah, I'll do it for $7. So guess who's in that movie? Yeah, he's a good actor. He does a really great job. It was, I've heard him talk about feeding frenzies in Hollywood, like as far as getting roles. When big casts like that are happening, he talks about it in some interview about Dead Poets Society. And I bet that was the same kind of situation, because there's so many roles for young men and there's so many actors trying to get jobs. I bet it was a shit show. It's about World War II life. What it'd be like to be in the war and sacrificing your life for somebody else's. Because like in war, it's like, that's like a given, right? You could die. But did you sign up to go save somebody? Maybe. I don't know. In 1998, an elderly veteran walks through a cemetery, accompanied by his family, overcome with emotion, recalling his time as a soldier. The U.S. Army lands on the beach of Normandy. Captain John Miller leads his Command Company C 2nd Ranger Battalion. In an outbreak from the beach, the War Department learns that James Francis Ryan of the 101st Airborne Division is missing and presumed to be the last survivor of 4 brothers who were all killed in action. General Marshall orders Ryan to be found and sent home so that his family will not lose all of its bloodline. Miller is ordered to lead a detachment in finding Ryan as they arrive in the contested town of Nouvelle. The storming of the beach is super awesome. It's really super realistic. I had a guy who was saved by Patton at the Battle of the Bulge come to my what's right before senior year? 11th grade, 11th grade teacher, or in 11th grade history class. The teacher's father was saved by General Patton at the Battle of the Bulge. So he came and told us about all that shit, and you had like a 70-pound backpack, and you're trying to like swim, and motherfuckers are drowning, and they don't even get off the boat, and they're just getting gunned the fuck down. And that's what this movie opens up as. It's like super realistic. Fuckers are drowning. The guy, you know, goes to get the radio guy, and his head's just like gone. Like his face is just Kennedy. John Kennedy is boom, like gone. So that shit is super realistic and awesome. One of his guys is killed by German soldiers. They find a paratrooper named Ryan, but he's not the guy. They're directed to a rally point where dude's supposed to be. They find a guy who is a friend. That friend tells them that he went to go guard a bridge, so they go to the bridge to find Ryan. But while they're at the bridge, they're like, fuck it, let's just win the war. They find Ryan, he won't go. He's got the best line ever. He's like, you telling me all my brothers are dead? I'm gonna stay here and make sure the rest of my brothers don't die. That's such a good line. Such a good line. And that's pretty much the only scene he really gets. He's barely in this movie. Before, there's a, you know, they pick a church at the bridge, and they're like, this is the Alamo, this is the last stand, and then Miller dies there, and he's like telling Ryan to earn it. And that irked the fuck out of me. You know what? Like, earn it? Like, dude, nobody told you to come stay here. I already told you I'm here to fight for my brothers. Like, what the fuck is that to say to somebody like that? Like, if he was like being a pussy the whole time, the guy carrying if he was like the interpreter, you know, or something, all right. But dude is down, you know what I'm saying? Like, he was already fighting, right? He was already blowing shit up. And then you tell him that his brothers are dead, and he gets a free ride home, and he's like, nah, I'm not walking out on my fucking other brothers like that. So, I mean, to like come at him like earn it, like he hasn't earned it, like suck a dick, bro. Like, what the fuck? I mean, maybe that was just so that like they could like go back to Ryan crying at the grave and all, but like, I guess they were trying to maybe trick the audience into thinking that the guy crying at the grave was Miller, the captain. But Miller's got hazel eyes. I always thought Tom Hanks had blue eyes until I saw this movie. But I guess he's got hazel eyes because those things look green. And I'm like, well, obvious blue eyes at the gravesite. Clearly not the guy with hazel eyes at the gravesite. I mean, I guess those are my only issues with that movie. That earned it shit. Yeah. So check it out if you've never seen it before, or you didn't think it was going to be good. You decided to watch Platoon instead because it was during the age of Volcano or Dante's Peak. Deep Impact or Armageddon. I saw Deep Impact because I worked on that. But it did stuff like that's awesome because then you get to see Armageddon 30 years later and you're like, oh my God, this was actually good. It's way better than Deep Impact. Holy shit.